So the world is in general characterized by speed and doing and activity and busyness, thinking, talking, rushing about, goal orientation, achievement and all the rest of it. And so Golden Buddha Center, places of spiritual practice more often than not, are counter-trend, counter-culture. They offer us an opportunity to sort of step off that merry-go-round, that hamster wheel, and be still, be silent, let go of goal orientation, let go of particular activity. See what happens when we do that. Because Buddhist practices, if it's about anything, it's about understanding the world as it appears to be, beginning to understand the world as it actually is when experienced without resistance. Much of the activity, much of the busyness is actually born out of our reaction to the way it is. It's actually, in effect, an act of defiance against the continuous incursion of impermanence, the continuous incursion of this impression that things, even as they arise, have already slipped through our fingers. So one way of dealing with that is just to fight it and to try and assert solidity, to try and make the world stand up to account and become the thing we want it to be most, which is stable, predictable, reliable, and safe. But it isn't. It just isn't. And in a sense, this is nature, or this is a mechanism of nature that is trying to teach us, adjust us, and grow us into becoming fully in accord with our widest, biggest, greatest, most complete potential. So places such as this, and opportunities such as this, are designed to facilitate taking responsibility and facing up to the raw facts as they are, and to see what happens. We're told that if we do this, then we may well discover the peace that is beyond all description. This is what we're aiming for. The reconnecting with the entirety of who and what we are, and that entirety has a universal nature. It's bigger than the individual, or bigger than the impression of me as an isolated individual. Much bigger, but also much more complete. And we are told that the realizing of this is a perfect happiness. It is a self-evident, unconditional experience of perfect fulfillment. And until such time as we find perfect fulfillment, we will be driven by a felt sense of imperfect fulfillment to find it. So this is what the world is up to. This is what worldliness is. The rushing around looking for this missing piece. And this is the place you come to. In essence, the meditation hall, whatever form that might take, is where the missing piece is finally found. So I do believe that this is the beginning of the end of searching, if you found your way here. So then meditation, in essence, is an undoing of the doing that we are already up to. The accusation that to meditate is to do. Therefore, meditation is unnecessary, misses the point that we are already up to this doing. And the undoing of that doing is actually inherent in nature. So in a sense, to practice meditation is to surrender to the way it is, to stop trying to make adjustments to experience, but rather to let experience reveal its true nature to us already as freedom. Impermanence is the mechanism that then becomes the refuge. Permanence is the mechanism that actually is the doorway to freedom when we surrender to it, which is why, in essence, we have this attitude of bowing into nature as it presents itself into consciousness. This universal embrace is already trying to penetrate, it's already happening. So all our confusion and sense of diminishment in life, it's all born of resistance to this fact. So the simple act then of turning to the breath, opening to the breath is to renounce. It's an act of renunciation in the sense of you're renouncing the worldly habit of trying to be an enforcer, trying to make understanding happen, trying to make orientation happen, trying to resist the loss of the impression of separateness, the egoic self, the me-ness that is in a sense digested and subsumed. And then in a sense to become sensitive to the piti, the Pali word is piti, the subtle sense of bliss that is just inherent in raw aliveness. That is prior to or deeper than your thinking or deeper than your emoting, deeper than the sensing that is experienced as the body only, or the impression we have of the body only, but when we actually open to the interior sensations of the body, really we cannot describe it. It's really, of course we can say this is pleasurable, painful, neutral, but eventually in the stillness of pure experience, the naming can begin to drop away, and then you can't really say what your body is. Nobody can. Nobody can really say that who they are. That sounds problematic, but in fact it's not problematic. We are told it is liberating to let the thinking mind just be undone and start to just drop into the heart. It is abundantly obvious if you sit for long enough that no thought sticks. No thought you've ever had has stuck, and no thought you are going to have will stick. Your thoughts do not ever encapsulate the truth of your experience. The truth of your experience is immeasurable. So in fact, meditation is really about getting used to that fact and adjusting to it. It's no more odd or peculiar than being the one you think you are. But for sure, the one you think you are is not what you are. That is the truth. So with every breath, we, in a sense, surrender to the rhythm of arising and passing away. It is a rhythm. Nothing sticks. And if you can begin to feel a little sense of appreciation for this truth, we let that appreciative consciousness, that opening to this sense of stillness, sense of completion that comes from allowing all things to be our path, be our guide. And the fundamental shift then that can occur, that we should look out for, is the assumption that we bring that, for example, sensations are confined by and arise from within the body. It's an assumption that we make, or that hearing the sound of my voice is arising in your ear, or that sights arise solely through the eye. Thoughts, for the majority of us, there's an assumption that thoughts arise in the brain. But the practice orientation, the practice realization, the function in a sense of meditation is to bring and help amplify the field of awareness, so that we start to bring that field of awareness into play as a perspective. And as we begin to notice that there is this underlying kind of quality of luminous stillness that is part of our makeup, and we really inspect closely the actuality of our experience, then we can maybe begin to notice that actually the whole experience of the body arises in awareness. The sounds that we thought were derived from the ear actually arise in awareness. Thoughts which we think are confined to the brain actually arise in awareness. Sensations which we generally assume are kind of vapor arising solely out of the body, from within the body, also arise in awareness. And then as such you begin to recognize there's an inseparability. There is no separation in a sense between the apparent physical or sensational or rational. There is no separation between the arising of those experiences and awareness itself. And that awareness itself is immeasurable, is unbound, is always free, is always unburdened, is always full of light. And in a sense, the gesture of sitting still is the entrusting of oneself into that fact and allowing for a realization to gradually emerge through acting as if that fact is already known. Because to know that all is inseparable from awareness is to be always absolutely still and amazed by the play of appearances and release that happen from moment to moment. So as we begin to trust that, then in a sense we begin to feel held by that awareness, truly held through every cell of the body. That holding is the holding that we crave most. The holding that we imagine a good job or a good relationship or a beautiful house, all of those things may well provide, but actually fail to completely provide, is completely provided by this growing realization. The breaking up of the sense of separateness, the isolated me inside of this skin, facing an enormous, inexplicable universe outside of my skin. in this journey, then that inexplicable universe literally becomes the fulfiller of our deepest wishes. So try and use the breath then as the means for releasing ourselves from the assumption of being bound and confined and imprisoned by the apparent limitations and apparent imperfections. Start to try and notice then the play between that apparent solidity and then the process of release, and the underlying quality of vitality or stillness or luminosity or brightness or joy has many different qualities to it. And in noticing how all aspects of experience actually arise and cease in that, and you can actually begin to deconstruct some of the erroneous views, wrong understandings that give rise to an impression of isolation and all the sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair, sadness, anxiety that comes along with that erroneous and partial view of the position that we are in as human beings. So try and use the period of meditation in this kind of a way.